Alright, hi guys. We're gonna do a video about how to use alcohol markers. So I have these packs for you with like 80 markers in them, and there's all kinds of different colors. And they have different numbers and everything. And hopefully you open up a pack and you will find one of these keys, which I had past students make for us. So if you want to know the way number 3 will look when it's actually on the paper, there it is. And it looks actually a little different than the color right there. So it's why it's really good to use these keys. So that's available to you. And you'll see that there's a fine tip and a broad tip. So it's basically a smaller and bigger tip. If any of these are ever dried, just take them, toss them, okay? Because we don't want to use them anymore. And we're also using this really good marker paper. It feels a little thin, but the back side of it almost feels like it has a very slight plastic coating on it. It's very, very slight. And it holds markers a little bit better because on regular paper, which I have some right here, you'll see that markers tend to bleed, and this holds the line, the shape, a little bit better than a regular piece of paper. So that's why we're going to use this. Once again, these are alcohol markers. These ones are not that smelly. A lot of times with alcohol markers, like a Sharpie or something, you can really you can get it to smell. But these ones are pretty good. And the thing about alcohol is that, think about other types of alcohol, and how dehydrated they can make certain people that consume them too much. They make you dehydrated because alcohol is something that dries fast. When it's in your system, it dries you out. When it's in a marker and put on a paper, it dries out quickly. So I'll show you what I mean by that. So I'm gonna just do a little space over here and just color something in. And I think when we were little, we probably colored like that. Okay, and what you're seeing, see that streakiness with the markers? That's happening because the alcohol is drying so quickly on the page that once you have that first stroke done, then it's already drying. And as soon as I do that, it's drying. And then when I go to the second stroke, it creates that streak right there. And again, and again. As quickly as it takes you to pick your pen up off the paper, the alcohol ink is drying, and then that's how you get that streakiness. So when you're using alcohol markers, you're actually fighting those streaks. Those streaks are a sign that says, hey, I don't know how to use markers correctly, okay? So to fight that, basically, you keep your pen down on the page the whole time. You don't lift it up. That way, the ink is drying evenly together, okay? And it takes a little longer to dry when you do that because now you've saturated the page with ink. But you can see, I could do this again. When you do that, you'll create streaks. When you do it this way, you don't. So that's the trick to using alcohol markers, is actually just keeping your tip of the pen on the paper. And you're always fighting, bleeding a little bit, even on the good marker paper, but it's the trick is just to keep your marker down, and to be precise, because once the mark is there, you can't erase it. Markers just don't erase. So when it comes to filling in a space, like a shape, okay, this is going to get a little trickier because you need to stay within the lines of something. So my recommendation to you is to work like a cinnamon roll and go from the outside in. And again, you're like keeping your pen on the paper, trying to avoid that streakiness. There's a couple little marks there, right? See, that's a pretty good solid, evenly drying, non-streaky shape. Okay, and if it is kind of streaky, you can go over it again, and then that should even things out. So ideally with markers, yeah, you're going for actually flat washes like you would with watercolor. But you know, there's times in life where we want a nice gradient of something, and it's hard to it's hard to create a gradient with markers. So one way to do it, if you do want something to look like it goes from lighter to darker, is to just take 3 pens of similar color and just have like a light, a medium, and a dark version, like 24, 44, and 37. Let me see if I could find those. 24, 44, and 37. Got it. Okay. So what I could do is I could try to put some of number 24, which is the darkest, number 44, which is a little lighter, and then number 37, which is a little lighter, and try to create a blend that way. And when I do this, I really have to stay like ready to go, because as soon as the time it takes to cap and uncap the next marker, the ink could be drying on the page. So I really got to have my markers like ready to work quickly. All right, here's 24, 44, and 37. Okay, and you can kind of get a little blend out of that. That works. That's nice. But there's a better way to do it, which I will show you very soon. I just want to show you a couple more things, okay? When you go to, say I have that nice little space there that I colored in with yellow, and I want to do some sort of blue streak going through it. Well, if let's get ready. If I work while the ink is still wet, you're gonna get a bleed, and you probably saw that ink kind of blossom on the page. But if I let it dry, good, I'll probably get less of a bleed. See? Much cleaner line. Okay, so it's kind of like working with watercolors where you're working with the wetness and the dryness of what you're doing. And sometimes you really do have to take a break and let your marker dry before you move on to something else. Now, the way to get something to blend is to actually use color pencils on top of markers. Color pencils and markers work beautifully together. For example, if I wanted to add like some darker kind of blend over my orange, I'm pretending I'm shading in some sort of three-dimensional form. See how nice that is? Make sure it's coming up on the screen. Woo. Okay, creating a nice little blend there. I'll do it on this one. Okay. So you just use your color pencils on top and you can create nice little blends. It's not, maybe if I use a red, it's just not showing up good on the camera. And I want you to be able to see how nice it is. It's just because of the camera in here. But in real life, it's looking gorgeous. All right, see? There we go. See? Nice little blend. Okay, so go ahead and try this all out. And then your assignment, your practice today is to do Squidward. So all you gotta do is take Squidward and you put it underneath your marker paper, okay? And the order of events goes like this. You take that and you trace it with pencil. So pencil, trace. Number 1, okay? Number 2, once you have it all traced in, that's when you go ahead and color with marker. Okay. Number 3, you add value, which is like shading, with color pencil. Okay, and then number 4 is you go back for your block outlines with the Pilot pen. Okay, and that produces the best result. Okay, so again, you have to trace it because you need to trace it and you need to be able to see it. You go with the marker first because that's the law. The color pencil comes in as third. There you go. Because that's how you add the beautiful blended shading and more detail. And then, yeah, it's a cartoon, and usually cartoons have that nice black outline. We do that last because then that's the least likelihood of our black outlines bleeding into the marker that's already there. This has produced the best results in the past, so that's my recommendation for you. So that's the assignment today. Thanks.